Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Happy President's Day. I have the day off from work, so I've been taking complete advantage of doing nothing. I've just been lounging around the studio and I thought, let me get on here and review last night's episode of Sister Wives, the one-on-one part 3 finale of it all, so I can get this uploaded a little earlier than usual. I hope this isn't too long of a recap because I feel like this episode probably had the most meat to it. It was really just all about Christine and Cody and their divorce and what everybody thinks. But before we get into the recap, I did hear a commenter left a message saying that Christine is getting her own spinoff show and it's called Cooking with Just Christine. And at first I was wondering, is it a cooking show or is cooking a euphemism for something? But then this morning I saw this little like 2-minute kind of trailer for it that somebody uploaded, and it is a cooking show, and that's fine. I know we all want a like Christine out in the dating world, but I don't think she's ready for that, and that's fine, and she talks about that a little bit later in this recap. So she can, I think this is her just sort of dipping her toe into the reality world alone on her own, and so I think she's just trying to find her footing and get comfortable, so that's fine. Is Christine a big cook? Did they say that she makes the rolls on Thanksgiving? And then I remember one time she made a parfait for Robin. Yeah, there's a lot of seasons I missed, so I don't know what her signature dishes are. I'll tune in to be supportive of her. I think we all want to support her, so we'll all tune in. I don't know how. I mean, there's so many cooking shows, but I'm getting off. But congratulations to Christine. I think we're all happy and excited for her moving forward and doing things on her own. So let's get into the review. So the episode opened with Christine reiterating that her and Cody are indeed divorced. They are separated. They are no longer together. That the decision to leave was extremely hard and difficult. She felt like, or she was wondering if this was just selfish on her part, but ultimately she saw that she was really unhappy. She was always in a pissed off mood, and that would affect the atmosphere around other people. And so in the end, it was the best thing for her to leave, and she's just happier for it and much lighter and living life. Cody says that he and Christine are no longer together, that she's left. He'll always love her, but right now he's just so angry. He can't see through his anger, but he said he's also grief-stricken and he'd rather just sit in the grief than be angry. And I just wonder, like, what is it exactly he's angry about? Is it because she had the audacity to leave him, the all-great Cody? I know people say that Cody's a narcissist. I don't know if he is or he isn't. I'm not a psychologist. I can't diagnose that. But to me, because when I think of narcissist, I think of somebody who's like incapable of loving anyone but themselves. And I know Cody really does love himself, but I think he also really does love Robin and her kids. And I think he would do anything for them. To me, Cody is always more of like an egomaniac. Like everybody's got to feed that ego of his. And Christine leaving him, I think really it hit his ego hard. Or is he upset that her leaving has hurt their brand and the show, and that she gets to go off and get her own spin-off and make her own money? And is that frustrating? Like, what is it exactly that has him so angry? I just wonder. Robin, because then the host asks all the sister wives, what does Christine leaving mean to them and the family as a whole? And Robin very sarcastically, snarkily just says like, it's just such a waste. And the host asks her to elaborate, and she says that it's frustrating because Cody and Christine are two functioning people who should figure this out, and they're not taking the time to do it. And for her, quitting and leaving just isn't an option when you haven't even tried. And I'm just like, how do you know they haven't tried? She wasn't even aware that they were having problems, much less like the things they were trying to do to figure this. I think just how would you know? Like, you can have an opinion, but I guess this is her opinion. And she is getting upset and again, but it's funny because I had a lot of commenters say that when Robin cries, you don't actually see tears, and I never paid like that close attention to detail. So in this episode, I was like, I'm gonna really watch for those tears. Yeah, tears never do come. She just dabs. She looks up and she dabs, and she's frustrated and sad by Christine's choice to leave. What about Cody's decision to push Christine away and cut the sex off? Like, how do you feel about that, Robin? Like, it's like she doesn't. She says that Christine was in her big picture and Christine's kids are in the big picture. But can you paint the picture for me of how it looked when Isabel needed surgery and how you like didn't support Kody going to be with her at all? Like I know we can't force Kody to do anything, but I just feel like Robin sat back and just did nothing. And so why I just don't buy it. And it's funny because I think Christine seems the most upset about this breakup than anybody. I mean, you see Christine and she is just glowing. Like, she's happy. She can't hide that Mona Lisa smile. Like, when they bring up Kody and her leaving, she's like, you know, she tries to be respectful, and she is. But when you talk about her leaving, you could just see that little smirk. Like, yeah, Kody, I think he's angry, but I'm not really sure why. Because I think Christine leaving is ultimately what he wants. I think he wants to be in a monogamous relationship with Robin because it's just easier for him to not have to deal with all these other wives. But anyway, they ask Janelle how this affects her and what she thinks will happen with the family. And Janelle says that it does change things when you've been in a relationship for like 25 plus years and now this person leaves. It is going to change things. However, she says that she saw both. It is like a total contradiction to what Robin's saying, because I think Robin just isn't involved with the other wives enough to know what's going on. And we know Christine and Janelle are really close. So I think Janelle saw and heard a lot from Christine venting or just letting her know what was going on. Janelle says that both Kody and Christine, both of them tried to fix and make this marriage work, and it wasn't working anymore. And she says, and that's okay. Like, that happens. At this point, though, she's just trying to not take sides and stay out of it and not get caught in the middle, which I think is the best way to handle it. Mary says that she doesn't know what this Christine leaving, what this means for the family or herself. She's still just trying to process it, wrap her mind around it, because I think for Mary, and maybe for some of us viewers too, it's unfathomable that one of them actually left. I know we all for years have been wanting Mary to leave, and we thought maybe if anybody was gonna leave, it would be Mary. And because she stayed, and it's just like, and that's fine, she can stay. We just assumed, okay, if Mary can go through all of this and Kody can put her through all of that and she's not gonna leave, yeah, none of them are gonna leave. So I was surprised that Christine left, and I think it took Mary by surprise, maybe all of them, because I feel like some of them felt that they had made this pact to stay together for better or worse, whatever the situation might be, because again, I'm gonna stand on this hill. They have a brand to protect, this show, the filming, the money they make from it. So let's just stick it out so we can make the money, sell what we have to sell, because this show creates a bigger platform for all of them and the side businesses they have. I think especially for Mary, because she has a few businesses, which is fine, respect the hustle. So Mary just doesn't know what this means for everybody. Then the host asks Kody how he feels about polygamy. Does he still believe in it? And he's just, I think, he's not sure is the feeling I get, because he says that it seems like some people are cut out for it and some people aren't. And I believe that. I think most people are not cut out for polygamous marriages. I think for me, and I guess I shouldn't speak for everybody, but for me, sharing my partner with somebody, I can't. And not just because of jealousy, but just situations like with the whole Isabel situation. Like, I need to know that I can count on you and that you'll be there and that you're not going to be pulled away by something like that. Our focus, we can share like a focus, and I just don't think that's really happening. But I do think some people are wired to live polygamously or have like relationships with other people, like open marriages, things like that. And I'm not judging at all. I'm just saying, I think it takes a special kind of wiring in your brain and in your heart to be okay with it, like all the time, not have to work through it and deal with it and make sense of it. Just like, yeah, you get it, it's fine, you have no problem. And I was obviously not Christine, and I don't really even think it's Kody, but we'll get into that a little bit later. So then we get this clip, remember, of like last season, when Kody was telling them at the table at the lunch that he's told friends of his that he doesn't want to be an advocate for polygamy anymore. And then remember when he was sitting at the picnic table at Coyote Pass and he was telling the wives that he's just so tired of trying to get everybody on the same page and lead everybody, that he gives up. That he just doesn't give a shit anymore. And that is a quote. And all the wives were looking at him like, that's crazy. And then he would go on to say something like that he just feels he's at a point where his family is getting in the way of his dreams and his goals. And Janelle was like, well, that was about the most selfish thing you could say. And it's true. When they cut back to everybody's reaction to those clips, Mary says, I was like looking at a stranger. Like, that just is not the Cody I know. It's just not him. It's not who he is. And I'm just hoping he'll find himself again. And remember that like he made promises and he took vows to be the leader of this family and carry them. And when you say I don't give a shit anymore, and that's what Christina's saying. Like, when he said that you don't give a shit, then that gives me no hope to keep going on trying. Like, if you don't care and you're not gonna try, then why should I? Like, he didn't give her any reason or hope that they could get to a better place. So it's like, I understand totally where she's coming from. Cody says that also he knows other polygamous families that can make it work. And maybe it's just him. Maybe he's the failure. Or maybe this happens in all polygamous families and these husbands go through the same thing, but they just, they don't talk about it. And they just deal with it. Maybe better than he does. Who knows? But he says that he knows that Christine has never been happy in this polygamous marriage. She's, in fact, told him that she hated it. She told him that back when they were living in Utah, I think before Robin. Early on in their marriage, she pulled him aside and said, I hate polygamy. I hate being a plural wife. And his immediate reaction was to just get angry. And he says by his own words, he was self-righteous, he was arrogant, he didn't want to hear it. And instead, he says he wishes he would have just listened and he would have validated her and maybe try to be more helpful. And it's funny because I feel like at this point, Cody, he's learned nothing from the past. He didn't learn that lesson and say, I'll do better next time, because the same thing is happening with Gabe. I mean, not that Gabe is saying he hates being a plural family, but Gabe is coming to him, opening up and saying, this is how I feel. These are my feelings. And instead of Cody validating him and saying, I'm sorry you feel that way, how can I help you through this? He's just so angry again. He can't see through the anger. And what is he? He's being self-righteous. He's being arrogant. He just thinks Gabe is, just making a bigger deal out of everything, that Gabe should grow up and Gabe should just, it's like he didn't learn anything about that. And when the host asks him, do you think the wives are in love with you? He says, he does, and this is the thing about Cody I don't like, he doesn't ever answer the question. Yeah, it's a yes or no. Do you think the wives are in love with you? Yes or no. But instead of giving a yes or no answer, he says, I don't know why they stay. I don't know if it's out of obligation or commitment. I have no idea at this point, but I do know I have two wives who are ready to torch the castle and run away. But if they do that and that happens, there's no going back. You can't fix that. So he's trying to, I guess, figure it out with them. And then the host says, okay, well, if you could go back in time to when Christine told you that she was hating polygamy and hating this marriage, like, instead of getting so angry and indignant, do you wish you would have validated her and listened and been helpful? And he's just like, I guess we'll never know. Again, that doesn't answer the question. It's not, we know what you did. You were a jerk. We're asking, would you go back and change it if you think things would be better now? And he just, why wouldn't you say yes? Yes, I wished I would have been better. I wished I would have been more mature. I wished I would have helped her out. I wished I would have lightened the load. Remember, she was carrying everything back in the day? Like, it's just, he's so frustrating sometimes. And I wish the host would say, okay, that doesn't really answer the question. Let me repeat myself. If you could go back in time, would you do it differently? Yes or no? Just a yes or a no. Check this box, yes. Check this box, no. Anyway, okay, I'm going on. Anyway, the host leaves a little bit to be desired. And is it just me, or was she looking like she was getting emotional and a little misty-eyed at certain points? And I'm just like, this is not very professional. I just want her to be, not that I think she's biased towards anybody, but she's really got like the soft gloves on, you know, and I need some hard hits. Anyway, let's move on. Then the topic of moving back to Utah comes up, and we get the clip from last season where Christine had the initial conversation with Cody about her desire to move back, and Cody's saying, oh, that's a really exciting prospect, the idea of it, I love it. And then cut to all of them sitting on the land talking about it, and Cody just throwing Christine under the bus, saying that's never gonna happen, we're not moving back, I have kids who are thriving here. And then remember, she gets up and Mary follows her and she says, I can't do marriage with Cody anymore. Cody says that he didn't know she felt that way. He didn't know until he saw that on television. He didn't know that she was really thinking about leaving him or was so unhappy with him that, yes, he had heard from other kids and other wives that she had been threatening to leave, but she never told him. Then why didn't you confront her and say, hey, I've been hearing some things. I've been hearing you want to leave me. And he just, I guess we'll get to that later. We'll get a little bit of an explanation later. Robin says that watching that scene on television was really difficult because it's one thing to, behind closed doors when you're alone and the camera crew isn't there, to vent and complain about the troubles that happen in plural marriage, how you hate it, whatever it may be. But it's quite another thing to get on TV and say it out loud to everybody, which let me interpret that for you, okay? That means that she was upset that Christine spilled all of their tea on television. Because remember, yet again, they have a brand to protect, and the brand is we're all one big loving family. Cody is the perfect husband. He can manage it all. And now Christine she ripped that curtain down, and it's not really what it is. And Robin goes on to say that she didn't know that moving to Utah was sort of the ultimatum Christine was presenting. Either we go to Utah or I'm gonna leave. But that's not why Christine left. She didn't leave because you didn't want to move back to Utah. I don't know if Robin is delusional or if these are the things she's just trying to convince herself of, because then Cody is blameless. Oh, Christine left because we didn't want to move to Utah. Not Christine left because Cody said he didn't give a shit anymore and didn't want to try, and because he told her he didn't want to be intimate with her. Oh, it has nothing to do with that. No, it's just because we wouldn't move back to Utah. It's like, what? Is that the way Robin really thinks? Is that how she really sees it? That's why Christine left? And Robin just isn't aware. She didn't even know. She didn't even know that Christine and Cody were having problems. And she says, because you're not supposed to meddle in the relationships Cody has with the other wives. And I'm not saying you need to meddle, but I don't know how you're so unaware of the issues that are going on, which just further makes me believe Robin is really like apart from everybody. Like, she really isolates herself. I mean, maybe not always, but definitely during COVID, like, she really just kept to her little bubble with her kids and her nanny and Cody. And because Janelle knew, Janelle was aware. And then when Mary walked off with Christine to comfort her, Mary says that when Christine made that comment about not wanting to do marriage with Cody, she just thought Christine was just venting, was angry, was mad. It was kind of just like a heat of the moment, something to say. She didn't know that Christine was really thinking about leaving because she thought she knew Christine better than that. Like, she thought Christine was committed to the family. And to me, that's another low blow Mary is taking. Because remember back, I think it was in the first one-on-one episode when the host had asked Mary what she thinks the difference is between her and Christine, because they're both in these non-functioning marriages with Cody, and Mary stays and Christine leaves. And Mary I think very it's sort of this, it's not supposed to come off underhanded, but it does. It's like, she said, I guess we just have different set of values. And the more I thought about it, yeah, Mary's right. They do have a different set of values, because I think Christine was committed to her marriage for many years, and Christine did value the vows that she took with Cody and the promises they made to each other, and that was to be faithful. And so instead of going behind Cody's back and finding somebody online to cheat with, and I'm not trying to shame Mary, I understand why she did it, but that was another set of values. Whereas I think Christine, she decided to, instead of having an emotional affair with somebody else, let Cody know up front, I have needs that you don't want to meet anymore, so I'm gonna have to walk away now with some honor and some dignity and respect for the marriage that we did have. Like, I don't want to cheat on you, but I am gonna have to move on. That's a different kind of value that Christine put on her marriage that Mary didn't. And again, not trying to shame Mary. I understand why she did it. But I don't like the way Mary is like taking these shots at Christine, sort of under the guise of just like, oh, I guess we're just different. Oh, I thought I knew her. Like I see what she's trying to do. And Christine says that in that moment, she did appreciate Mary trying to be there for her. She knows that it was coming from a good place, and she wants Mary to know that. But at the same time, it was like a mirror being held up to her. When she looked at Mary, she was looking at herself like down the road, never getting back to a full marriage with Cody. And that Mary's comforting her and trying to get her to focus on the mountain and remember the good times, it just sort of had the opposite effect. Because when Mary was saying, you know what I've been through, you know what I've gone through, so you don't get to give up, it just like clicked in Christine's mind, like, yeah, I know what you've gone through, and it never got better. You're still never gonna be in a full marriage with Cody, and that is not what I want. Like, it had the opposite effect. It was like reverse psychology, and that, which was not Mary's intent. She knows that, but it was just, that was the moment when she realized, like, yeah, I don't want what you have. I can't live the way you live. And I guess it was in that moment Christine knew it was over for her and Cody. So that was pretty much it with the whole Utah moving back, Coyote Pass discussion. And then they gave us this montage of Cody and Christine over the years of the show. And yeah, I forget like how young, not that they were like young in their 20s, but how young they look. We've all grown these past 11 years anyway. In one of those clips in the montage though, they showed Cody and Christine meeting with the therapist Nancy, and Cody said something like, Christine wants a romantic love marriage and I want stability. And to me, I'm just hearing they speak different love languages. We know Christine very much is a person who needs physical touch, and Cody, I think, probably is somebody who is all about like acts of service. Like, you just always need to be in service to him. And I think over the years, Christine did speak his love language to make him feel loved and appreciated and wanted. I don't think he ever spoke hers to her. Like, he didn't give her enough of the romance she needed to feel loved. Do you know what I mean? And then also in that montage, Cody showed that they had only courted for 2 months before they got married, which is like nothing to me. Like, they didn't know each other at all. And that's what Cody said, that they didn't really know each other, that it was probably a bad match from the start. But, you know, once they're married and they're living together and they're realizing you're not exactly who I thought you were, and it was a big adjustment, at some point, magic happened. Because remember, she made peace among everybody and took that load off of him. And I think that's why it's what he appreciated in Christine. I don't want to say he didn't love her. I think he did love her, but I think he loved her because she made his life easier, not because he just loved her as a person and as a human and who she was. It was just like what she was doing for him, like, you know, the service she was providing. Anyway, Christine says, yeah, when they got into the marriage, she was this bubbly, nice, effervescent. She did keep the peace. She was easygoing, go with the flow. She was yes woman. She was saying yes to everything. On top of, she's raising all the kids. She's keeping the house. She's doing all the work. And I would venture a guess that this is the point where she went to him and said, I hate polygamy because I hate that I'm the one that has to do everything here. Like, she really, I think, she did the most heavy lifting in that plural marriage for everybody. And yeah, instead of Cody listening to her and validating her and saying, how can I help you? How can I lighten your load? How can we get Mary and Janelle in here to help you out too? Instead, he just got angry that she dare complain about polygamy, and he shut her out. And I don't think she was saying necessarily, I hate polygamy because I hate sharing you, but I hate that I have to do all the work by myself, alone, all the time, every day, 24 hours, okay? Anyway, I think that's why she hated polygamy really in the beginning. And so at one point she said her dad had a conversation with her where he asked her, when are you ever going to say no? You know you can do that, right? And she realized that, yeah, I need to start speaking up for myself. I need to start saying what I think and what I feel. And when she started doing that, finding her own voice, it threw Cody for a loop. Like, she changed on him, and he just thought she was flipping the script, and he didn't know how to handle this new person that she was. So he withdrew and she withdrew, and this is where they are today. And I think it's something I haven't really talked a lot about in these recaps, why I think the marriage has fallen apart the way it has with Christine and with Mary too, is because, like Cody mentioned, these courtships were really not long at all. Like, they didn't really know each other when they got married. Not to mention like how young they were. Like, you don't really know yourself at 20 and 21. Like, I didn't know myself. And so there's a lot to learn and grow. And we see that with Christine. And I think in the beginning, I don't know, I can't really say for Janelle, she's kind of a little bit different, but I think in the beginning for Cody, he was in a place in his religion where he was young and he knew, I need wives, I need to have kids, I need to get this going. And he met these women, and I don't want to say he didn't love them, but I don't think he was ever like in love with them. I think he liked them enough, he was attracted to them enough, they got along well enough, and yeah, we could make this work. And I think they did for a long time, until Robin came into the family and he really fell in love with her. I think in a way he didn't know was possible. Like, I think he thought he was in love with the first three wives, but realized like, oh no, just kidding. This is really what being in love is, when you want to spend all your time with this person and you'll do anything for this person, like even at the detriment of like other relationships. Like, we see the way he is with Robin. And also, I think they're just more compatible, the two of them. And that's not like any slight against the other wives. I just don't think they're really compatible with Cody. And also, I just feel like I have a million thoughts. Also, Robin, when she married Cody, she was like in her 30s. She wasn't this 20-year-old, naive, impressionable, I'll do whatever I have to. Like, Robin came from another like marriage. She had experience. She had lived a life. And so she knew who she was and what she wanted and what she'd put up with and what she wouldn't. And she wasn't afraid to speak up, challenge Cody, confront him, whatever it was. Remember, Christine said one time she saw Robin like speak back to Cody, and Christine was just so taken aback. She didn't know you were allowed to do that. And I think because, like I'm saying, maybe Cody wanted to be challenged. Maybe he wanted somebody to stand up to him the way Robin did. Maybe that turns him on. Maybe that's what he likes. And we also know that Robin, she runs her house. She makes the decisions in that house, and he defers to her. And maybe that's what he wants. I mean, maybe he doesn't like being the leader and the head of the family and making the decisions and being in charge. I mean, he knows that's what he's supposed to want and what he's supposed to do and what he presents to us on the show. But deep down, maybe he's fine to let Robin run things. And maybe that's really what he wants the other wives to do. But they're standing there waiting for him to like take charge and be the man you promised you'd be and lead the family. And it's not really what he wants to do. Like, do you know what I'm trying? And this is just my theory. I just think he is really, truly in love with Robin. And it shows. It's where he wants to spend all his time. He's the most affectionate with her. He's the most sensitive. And they speak each other's love language. She gives him what he needs. And you guys know what I'm saying? I don't mean to be negative and say like, oh, well, this was inevitable for Christine and Cody. Because she could have stuck around and worked it out, but I just don't think she was ever going to get what she really needed from him as a husband, and that's just not the way she wanted to live the rest of her life. And I don't blame her. I know sometimes couples will stay together for the sake of their kids, and that's fine. I respect that, but I'm a person who's just like, yeah, I shouldn't say I'm not married. I don't have kids, so I'll refrain from saying that. But I just think I'm not surprised that Mary is where she is with Cody. I mean, and yeah, she's with him, but she said that they're estranged. They're only together for the show when they're filming. Otherwise, they have no relationship. And does Cody like that she's sticking around? Does he want her around? And Robin is saying to the host, what is Cody supposed to do in this situation when you have wives that are unhappy and maybe he's teetering on whether or not he wants to be a polygamist? Because I deep down don't think he does anymore. I think he wants to just live happily ever after with Robin and just spend time with her and be in love with her and have those like experiences. I know people think he might be taking on other wives. I'd be shocked if he did, because I just don't think he has the energy or the patience for it anymore. He's an older man. I'm not trying to age shame him, but he's like in his 50s. Like, who wants to like have little kids they have to run around and manage other women and their emotions and their needs? Like, he wants peace and quiet, I think. He wants peace and quiet with Robin. And so anyway, Robin is saying, what can he do? Leave all of his wives, stay with one of them. She says that happens often in their church, where a man, he'll just leave everybody, or he'll just stay with one wife. And that's that's the way it's going with Cody. But I think what keeps him from just jumping off this polygamous train is The brand. I tell you, I'm gonna die on this hill. If he, and maybe he will someday. The host was asking Mary, like, can Cody leave? Can he walk away? And Mary says, anybody can walk away. Anybody can leave. Like, nobody's holding a gun to his head, but they make a lot of money off of this show and off of being this polygamist family. And I think that's a lot of why he's upset that Christine left, and why Mary's upset that Christine left, and why Robin is upset that she's, let it all be known that she wasn't happy anymore and that Cody wasn't the husband that he needed to be. I'm rambling. Anyway, you all get what I'm saying. I'm not surprised that, given the information we know now, how young they were, how little they knew each other, how maybe he wasn't in love with these women. Like, yeah, I mean, you can only play the game for so long. And that's what Christine is saying. Like, she couldn't pretend anymore. Like, the whole topic of the intimacy thing, and she has her story, he has his. They each have different perspectives. He's saying he never told her they were never going to be intimate. And she never said that. He said they probably weren't. That's true. That he never said no, they weren't. He said they probably wouldn't be. And Christine says that he told her he knows of couples who are in sexless marriages and the husband sleeps on the couch, and she was insulted by that. You're gonna tell me that I'm gonna have to spend the rest of my life being celibate while you get to have sex with other wives? That's not fair. And if you don't want to be in my bed and lay up with me, then I don't want you there either. Like, I'll move on, and that's fine. Cody is saying now, though, he just didn't know it had gotten to that point. He thought that they would go to counseling, that she would confront him, that she would tell him she wasn't happy. And the host is asking him, finally, for once in this whole interview, asks him, why didn't you confront her? Why didn't you have that conversation and bring it up? And he says, because of FOMO, fear of missing out. I'm like, what does that mean? Your fear of missing out of what? He says that if he had that conversation with her, if he'd gone up to her, he was afraid of what she might say, that she really wanted to leave. And so what if she did say that? What if she said, thank you, Cody, finally, you're coming to me. What am I feeling? I'm not happy. I'm not satisfied. It's been 2 years since we haven't been intimate. And that's what Christine said, that they hadn't been intimate for a couple of years. I need to slow down. They hadn't been intimate for a couple of years. And we need to fix this. Because he's saying he didn't think she was going to move him out. She thought they would go to therapy and work this out. But he was waiting for her to come talk to him. It's like, Cody, get over yourself. If you heard things and you felt things and you were having these conversations about lack of non-intimacy, like, then you should have said something. He just waited around for it to happen. And maybe if he'd have reached out to her, maybe they could have saved their marriage. Maybe they could have fixed it. But he just doesn't communicate. He doesn't communicate with his kids. He expects the mom to relay all messages. He doesn't communicate with his wives. He's waiting for them to come to him and figure it out. It's just like, I can't with you, Cody. Anymore. I can't with you. And now when he sees that he's moved out, he's relieved. He's ambivalent, and he's the burden of being in a loveless marriage is lifted now, and it's like it's like a balloon floating away. And it's like, what say you, Robin? What do you think about what he's saying about all this? What do you think about him not wanting to be intimate? What do you think about him saying that him and Christine were a bad match from the start and incompatible? And it doesn't even matter anymore because she's gone. Christina's gone. She's left. The host asks her where she is in her life. Is she looking to date? And she says no. She's not there yet, even though we all want her to be. She's dating herself. She's getting to know herself. She is just living her life and just appreciating every day and the lightness of it, that there's no more drama and strife and just heartbreak every single day. And she's loving it, and she just wants to stay in this moment, and good for her. Good. I'm happy for her. The host asks Cody, what do you wish for Christine? And he says that he wishes her well. He hopes she finds somebody, she falls in love, and she lives a happy life. Okay, good. I hope he means that. But also he was saying that earlier that he was kind of trying to call out Christine and saying that she was a hypocrite because, to him, she was saying she hates polygamy, but on the TV show, she was saying, I don't want just the man, I wanted the family, and, how could she? And it's just like, well, you were all, she said that because that was on brand. You were all saying stuff like that, but you don't all necessarily feel that way, and that's what Robin's saying. It's fine to talk behind closed doors and have your feelings, but we don't say that on TV. We keep that hidden. So I don't even care that he said that about Christine. Like, I'm sure, whatever, like, because he's clearly like, I can see he's struggling with polygamy. He's not, he don't want to be the advocate for it anymore. And maybe you never, I don't, you know, I'm digging too deep when it's done. It's all over and done with. The host asks Robin how she feels, you know, what she wants for Christine. And Robin is just like, I mean, Christine can move on and meet somebody or whatever. I don't know. But we're still the one big happy family, which is on brand. And we're just going to continue to grow. Did she say the family's just going to get bigger? And I'm like, what does she mean by bigger? I mean, I know she doesn't mean take on more wives. Because like I said, I don't think that's what Cody wants. I really don't. Grandkids? I don't know. And then the host asks Janelle, how does she feel about Christine having moved on? And is she sad about it? Is she sorry? Is regret? And Janelle says it's strange not having Christine be a part of like the day-to-day family. They're in a group text and she's not included anymore. It's just Cody and Mary and Robin and herself. And there's conversations about the land and it's odd not to have Christine's voice in there, but it is what it is. Like, she's moved on. And she says that she can see Christine as sincerely, truly happy now. Like, she's just never seen her so happy. So how can she be sad or sorry about that? And I'm like, thank you. And that's where I want to end this, because that's, I think, how we all feel for Christine. We are all happy for her. And I've said many times, I don't like to see couples break up and families sort of fall apart this way, but it happens. And sometimes it is for the better. You know, I think that Cody and Christine, I guess you can say they both, I think Christine tried and maybe Cody tried too in his own way. And it is what it is. And I think they're both better off not being married. I think that Christine is very happy. And I think Cody, maybe his ego is hurt and he's angry that it might hurt the show and Christine having her own show. But as far as being in a relationship with Christine, I think he's fine that they're not together. I think he's happy to have one less relationship that he has to worry about and put effort into. It's just like one thing off his plate. Not that he ever like really tended to much. Okay. Anyway, that was the episode. What did you guys think of the season? What did you think of this last one-on-one? Yeah, I mean, I know we all want to see Christine like get out there and date, but I'm fine. I mean, that'll come later, and it's no rush because the dating world, it sucks. It is not fun. I mean, it's better than being in a sexless marriage with Cody because at least you have the hope of meeting somebody and falling in love, and one day getting your back blown out, which is what I think Christine needs and deserves. But I mean, I shouldn't say that. Christine's a good girl. I don't think she's gonna go out there like getting on Tinder and thoughting and bopping like that. Not that there's anything wrong with doing that if that's what you want to do, but I think Christine like really probably wants to like fall in love and be in a monogamous relationship and just be treated like the queen that she is, and that's what I want for her. But in her time, you know, get your show together, you know, get that money. You don't have to split it, you don't have to share it. Live in your fabulous mansion with your kids. And you know, her and Cody, she said that they're friends or they will be someday. And Cody said the same thing, like they'll get there. They're not, I don't think they're friends yet. I think maybe they're co-parenting amicably, but friendship I think is gonna take a little time, but we'll see. So what did you guys think? Rate, comment, subscribe, and thanks for tuning in this season. I don't know what I'm going to recap next. If you guys have any ideas, please leave them below, because all I'm left with now is adults adopting adults, and it's not like the funnest show for me to recap, but a lot of people want me to. So I really need a new show. So leave your suggestions if you have any, and I will see you next time. Happy President's Day. Enjoy your day off if you have it off, and I'll see you next time. Bye.